KC Joyner's back. Let's bring him in and get the NFL Rewind with the football scientists and NFL insider KC Joyner here on the Boardwalk Honda Hotline. KC, welcome back, pal. How are you?
Great. I watched like 10 hours of football yesterday. I know me and my son did our part, so
I was there. I didn't get off that couch from about 10 a.m. until, 1:30 in the morning last night when it all came to a close, and loved every minute of it. By the way, check out Pay Dirt, the new pay site for KC Joyner, and you can check out all his analysis there on week 1 of the NFL. So let's get into the Eagles last night, 17-0. They have the lead, and then all of a sudden it falls apart. What happens in that game once they're up 17-0, Casey? Because the defense seemed to play well. We all know the line had problems, but is this more on Doug Peterson, Carson Wentz, or that offensive line?
Couple different things. One, they get up 17-0 despite the fact they'd given up 4 of their 8 sacks by that point. So it wasn't all the offensive line that caused the problems. They were having issues and still scoring. But Carson Wentz at that point, when they got up 17-0, he actually started off the game 3 for 3 on deep passes to him 15 or more yards downfield for 108 yards and a touchdown. The rest of the game, he has 1 completion, and there's a lot of reasons for it, but it basically boils down to Washington realized what the Eagles' offense could do and couldn't do, and as the Eagles started finding out things that they could not do, and Washington checked that list off, they were able to clamp down more on the offense and shut things down. So the Eagles they've got to get some issues where they got to have a plan B.
What did you think of Wentz yesterday? Because a lot of people are getting on him today. He looked good early. What happened to him as that game kind of went on?
I think part of it is he lost faith in the rookie receivers, understandably so, because the 2 picks, the first to Rager on that play is supposed to make a cut to the inside and then cut to the outside. He's supposed to sell like he's doing a skinny post and then cut to the outside. He gets like a half of a step. Cornerback is easily going to jump all over that play. On the second play, the interception, the Hightower, slot blitz, it's a hot read, and Wentz knows it's going to go there, and more than the cornerback sees it the whole way and knows it's going to get there. And Hightower, if he sees the cornerback is looking, he's got to cut him off. He's got to make sure that you don't jump the hitch route because what's going on with the route there. And what happened is once those 2 things happen, and Wentz knows I can't trust these receivers because he threw 2 more passes to Rager the rest of the game. He never threw another pass to Hightower. Once he knows I can't throw to those guys, I'm not throwing Arthega wide side. Ertz doesn't look good. We tried running left in the first quarter, got nowhere. We tried running right in the second quarter, got nowhere. We tried running wide in the third quarter, got nowhere. And Washington goes, well, you don't trust your rookies. Ertz is off. You got all these problems here. Now we know you're going to throw everything to Jackson deep. We don't have to. You're a very one-dimensional offense, and now it changes the whole dynamic.
Really good breakdown. What happened to Goddard? He was a big part of the offense on that first drive. He seemingly, he had a nice game overall, but that first drive, it looked like they couldn't figure out a way to stop him. And then they go the touchdown pass to Ertz. I thought Ertz didn't play very well, but why were the tight ends not more involved?
It's a weird thing is that the tight ends weren't involved, but I think what happened is, again, once they realized you don't trust your rookies or we don't think your rookies can get open, now we're just going to clamp down and double on the tight ends. And I think they realized that we need to stop Goddard more than we need to stop Ertz. The Ertz just – there's the whole thing of Ertz not getting a contract, and it looks like Goddard's taken over, and he got banged up early on too. And I think the combination of those factors kind of took him out of the game as an X factor in that contest. And they said, okay, look, we're just going to go ahead and double Goddard. We're going to put extra coverage his way, so you're going to have to go to these rookie wideouts. And I'm still wondering, where's Arthega-Whiteside? He's on the field for 41% of the snaps. He's on the field as often as Hightower Rager. No targets yesterday. I'm looking at it going, okay, isn't he supposed to be your second-year guy? Because why are you leaning so heavily on these rookies? They're talented, but come on. It's week run in their rookie season. We have this weird offseason and things. I don't want to throw that many passes to rookies, and they did.
KC Joyner, looking back at that game, I mean, I thought they gave up 27 points, and you might say, all right, you gave up 27. Your defense didn't play that well. Is that the case?
It's not. Washington ran the ball, I think it was 33 times yesterday, and on 26 of the plays that they ran the ball, they gained 3 or fewer yards. And on those 26 plays as a total, they gained 18 yards. So it's typical for the Eagles that they just dominate the line of scrimmage. They one gap and dominate. Even with all their defensive changes essentially 7 starters, they still have that aggressive upfield defense. They destroy the running game for the most part. They gave up some big runs, but the longest one was like a 20-yard gain. They still basically shut down the running game. And they did well on defense, but Slay didn't play as well as I thought he should. He had a couple plays where he looked like he was putting out three-quarters effort, and it's little things like that eventually added up. And mind you, the Washington drive Washington realized we can't hit big plays. They go 48 yards. It takes them 13 plays to do it, but they were patient and said, fine, we'll take these 4-yard gains, move the chains a little bit, and then go down and finally score a touchdown. We'll go ahead and do that type of offense. And the Eagles, by the time the game was over, or the time the game was late, even before it got out of hand scoreboard-wise, they were just throwing a bunch of vertical passes. And like, you guys can't do that. You've got to be more patient. So some of that does go on Peterson, but you got to find ways to go dink and dunk if you have to.
Every Friday, Casey does the NFL preview. You said it. I mean, we're not claiming to be smarter than Doug Peterson. You said it. I said it. We all said it, that their defensive line was going to be a problem, especially once you knew Lane Johnson. So why are the Eagles trying to take so many deep shots down the field with that offensive line, knowing that Washington has one redeeming quality? And by the way, that front four is pretty darn good.
It is, and they were doing it with like 5-man protection. Sometimes with a back that would be checking out if there's not a blitz. So you ostensibly have a 6th guy in there, but he's only staying back there if you're sending in extra guys. So you've got 5-on-4, and it's I cannot for the life of me understand when you're taking deep shots, although I think part of that is on Wentz, where Wentz decided he was going to take some of the deep shots and things, although thing is Wentz looked like many times he did not trust the offensive line. On some of the deep passes, he was getting clean pockets, and you said, "Okay, I'm going to, I'll trust that I can make these throws." But a lot of times, it looks like he was not trusting the offensive line. But I think Philadelphia just thought we're going to be better if we spread the defense out than if we try and bunch people in and keep 7 in and block, because they just didn't think that they could block these guys, with the 5 guys. You can keep the tight ends in, and that's fine. But I think they thought, let's put Ertz and Goddard out into the protection and throw these dink and dunk passes. But Wentz decided, I'm going to be more aggressive. I think he needs to be a little more dink and dunk, but you got to coach him for that too.
KC Joyner looking back. All right, so you watch that game. They play Washington, a team that doesn't have high expectations. If you're an Eagles fan and you watch that tape, are you concerned moving forward, or is this fixable stuff? And knowing that you get Lane Johnson possibly back, and how much not having Miles Sanders maybe hurt?
Miles Sanders, not having him hurt a lot. The thing is, last year, league-wide, offensive line play struggled early on because most teams, they're just not playing their starters in the preseason and such, so it takes time. Teams basically use the early part of the season as their preseason. Last year, it took about 4 weeks for offensive lines to really start to gel. I think the same thing will happen at the Eagles because 4 of the 5 linemen played all 68 plays. They lost the one lineman played 50 plays, but still, they basically kept their offensive line in for the whole game. They get Johnson back. You play a couple, 3 more games, you'll be fine, but you can't go 0-4 in those contests. You got to find a way to get these guys to play better. So these are correctable issues. I'm not worried about it from a talent perspective.
All right, KC Joyner, NFL Rewind, week number 1. Let's get into it here and see what he thinks. One thought on every game in week 1. All right, Seattle goes to Atlanta. I thought Atlanta, Gurley adds something there, but Seattle traveling across the country. What are they, like 7-0 playing in the East Coast the last year?
They were 6-0 last year in East Coast games that play in the Eastern time zone. Now they're 7 in the last 7. And Atlanta has a terrible defense. Atlanta has one of the worst defenses in the league, and I think they're going to have to get into a lot of these shootout contests, and Seattle is more than capable of keeping up. So kudos for Seattle because it shows they can win that type of contest if they have to.
Buffalo, Allen goes for 312. What did we learn about the Bills? Everybody was wondering, did we learn enough to trust them?
I trust him more, but I don't like the fact that they kept exposing Josh Allen to a lot of risky plays even later on. They were running him even after they had the big lead and such, and you can't be doing that. You've got to decide what he's going to be, and I still think they're a little too heavy on his rushing ability. But look, they out-talented the Jets, and I thought the Jets would be better than they are, but that was an ugly contest for them.
Let's go to Detroit and Chicago, where that was much like the Eagle game. It looked like the Lions were going to get a win, and then all of a sudden, here comes Mitch Trubisky and the Bears. They go 1-0 on the road.
Detroit, Kerryon Johnson, DeAndre Swift, Adrian Peterson, they keep adding these backs. You ought to be able to close out a game just like they should, and they don't. I've got a buddy of mine who lives in Michigan. He says, I'm done with these guys already. He's so mad at the Lions for what they're doing. The Bears, though, it tells you, Trubisky, look, Foles comes in there, and he doesn't win the starting job, but he may be most valuable just to push Trubisky to have to play better because that's a big thing for them. So if Trubisky keeps playing at this level, I think the Bears could be a contender.
Over to the other game in that one. This was a shootout. Back and forth they went. I guess rumors of Aaron Rodgers' demise may have been slightly exaggerated. He went for 364.
He did, and I believe that was the most points that Minnesota has ever allowed on an opening day, and they've been in the league since 1960. So that's pretty bad. Green Bay, it shows. They've got the receivers. look, a great quarterback can make good receivers into very good receivers. Valdez-Scantling and Adams and Lazard. Adams is great, but the other two really aren't, and it shows that Green Bay last year went very power run heavy. They're willing to go Aaron Rodgers centric as well. And if he's playing as well this year and they keep the power running game going, I think last year won't be a fluke.
Is it the same old Patriots? They win again. They beat the Dolphins 21-11. Cam Newton only threw the ball 15 times.
It's not the same because they are going to be a more run-centric power team, but shows they can win that type of contest. But Miami, Fitzpatrick throws 3 interceptions. They may have to put 2 in there a whole lot sooner if he's going to be that risk-taking because Miami just can't do that. And I give Flores credit, though, to go up there and have have the talent disparity that they have and to still keep that close. He's a very good coach, but he's got to get better quarterback play.
Jacobs with 3 scores for Vegas. They get their first win as the Vegas Raiders, 34-30 on the road. I know Carolina's not a juggernaut, but a nice road win for the Raiders.
The Raiders were 1-6 last year in games that go to the Central or Eastern time zone, so I didn't think they were going to be able to travel, but they did, and that's a very good sign from them. It shows you Gruden, pound the rock. He wants to be able to use Jacobs and use him as that kind of bell cow. Plus, they got Edwards, they got Ruggs looking good, they've got Darren Waller, and they've got the makings of a very good pass game. Still don't trust Carr, but it shows that they can go on the road and beat the Panthers. It's one big step for them to get that kind of cross-country win.
NFL insider KC Joyner is with us every Monday for the NFL Rewind. Jacksonville, I guess they're not tanking, and Phillip Rivers is, although he threw for 363, but a big Rivers turnover late, and it was Gardner Minshew who gets the headlines.
He is. When he came in last year, it was he plays like a game and a half, and everybody's like, okay, we can tell he's our quarterback. Even Jacksonville knew it. Like, we put all the money in the Foles, but it doesn't matter. Minshew's our guy. He's a difference maker. That team believes in him. I didn't think they'd win this contest. Talent-wise, they were very outmatched, but it shows that Jacksonville, that a good quarterback like that, or a quarterback who has that type of mindset, that can permeate the whole team. And plus, Robinson, their running back, he did okay for a guy who's third stringer, but he never been doing very well in camp, and people were saying he's going to do that well. So I think Jacksonville's maybe a lot better than we all thought they were.
All right, same old Browns. They got blown out again, and that Baltimore team looks good again.
Cleveland, they're just terrible. In Baltimore, yeah, they are. In Baltimore, the idea that they might even be a better run blocking team than they were last year, and they were one of the best run blocking teams in the league last year, it says something. They've got more depth at running back. Now they've got Dobbins. They're wondering who's going to get the carries to go on. So they've got Ingram, you got Dobbins, you got Edwards, and they go so deep on that team in rushing. They're going to. I think that they're going to be everything they were last year, and we're going to be in the same place in the playoffs and say, okay, can they win a playoff game? But I think they'll easily win 12 games this year. It
was the Chargers going to Cincinnati. We saw Burrow for the first time. Cincinnati only puts up 13, and obviously, look, Cincinnati's not going to be good, but for L.A. to get a road win, nice win there for Tyrod Taylor.
A very nice win for him, and they had offensive line issues. They were missing one starter. I think they're missing 2 starters, and the third was banged up. So, the Chargers had some O-line issues that were going to make their offense struggle. Defense stepped up even without Derwin James. I give Burrow credit, though. He didn't have a great game, but he had a solid game for a rookie. The moment wasn't too big for him. He had that one rushing touchdown where he read a block really well. So I like where Cincinnati's going to be. Their future is a lot brighter than it used to be. But give the Chargers kudos for getting the road win.
All right. In what was the most watched game in 4 years for Fox in week number 1, you had Brady and the Saints with Breeze. It didn't, I don't know, did it live up to the hype? Maybe, maybe not. Brady didn't play great, 239 for him, and New Orleans wins the game.
It's tough because Gronk didn't look like what he used to be. Evans is hurt, and Brady made, you heard, he made two mistakes, and his coach called him out for saying, hey, both the interceptions were his mistakes. He read the plays wrong and was forcing passes, but Brady won't continue to make those mistakes. We all know this, and the Bucs are better. But let's put it this way: the Bucs go on the road and lose to the Saints. The Saints are possibly the best team in the league. It's like everybody's talking about, the Bucs, this and that. Look, it's a game that they were probably going to lose just talent-wise. So I'm not going to judge the Bucs just on that, but it does say a lot for the Saints because they look every bit as good as we thought they would.
I know all week I was getting a little heat because I was all over Arizona. I didn't know that they would win the game. They go to San Francisco. Not only do they look good, but they win the game. Hopkins, oh, man, I think that Bill O'Brien is going to be having night sweats thinking about that trade.
He is. And Murray, again, Murray's a sleeper MVP candidate. Don't think he'll win it this year if Jackson keeps playing like he is, but sleeper MVP candidate. I had a question about Arizona. Could you go on the road? Because you've got that type of offense. Okay, can you go into a contest where you need to go in a slugfest and punch a power team in the mouth? And San Francisco's the best power team in the league, or maybe the second best behind Baltimore. Arizona did that. That answers a big question for them. They can go take on a power team and win in what was essentially very much a slugfest game. So that they can win that type of contest is a big plus for them because now it makes them a division contender.
All right, let's go to the Sunday night game where Aaron Donald essentially took every lineman and threw them to the ground like they were a rag doll and just dominated that game. But it was still close. Big controversial call in that game late that has all the Cowboy fans whining. You know the NFL likes when the Cowboys win, so quit your whining, you Cowboy frauds out there. But they couldn't get the win, and L.A. puts $5 billion into their place, and no one was there to see the game.
No one was there to see the game. Beautiful facility. It would be great once they can get fans there. Everybody's talking about, like, Dallas is, oh, wow, Dallas lost this game, this, and like, Dallas wasn't that good of a team last year. Remember, they didn't win the division. They're not that good of a team. The Rams are a very good team. They added a lot of talent. They've got a three-headed rushing attack. I mean, come on, the Rams rushing attack has Malcolm Brown as their leader, and they have Cam Akers, who's even better than Brown, so they can go three deep there. They've got tremendous receivers. Van Jefferson's going to be a much better player as the year progresses. They've got Higbee showing he's just as good. Aaron Donald, as you mentioned, is great. Ramsey had a very good game in coverage. I mean, the Rams are a darn good team. This should not be considered such an upset. It should say more about the Rams are that good than the Cowboys are that bad.
Tonight on 97.3 ESPN, we have a doubleheader for you, Monday Night Football, Pittsburgh and New York. KC Joyner, let's get your thoughts here because Pittsburgh is getting Roethlisberger back. They went 8-8 without him, and I don't think that they were one of those teams that, the quarterback situation there was a nightmare last year, but they fought hard down to the final week. This Giants team's had all sorts of problems, but could the Giants surprise people?
I think the Giants are going to be able to keep this game closer than expected because when you've got that kind of a power rushing attack, they finished fourth in the league in my good blocking rate metric last year, so their run blocking is that good. And you've got the Cowboy running back, Evan Barkley. Of course, he can be double-digit in good blocking yards per attempt, so he can be elite there. But Pittsburgh's the most talented defense in the league. They literally have more talent, I think, than any other team in football, and they are in the defense. And mind you, their passing game now is James Washington, Juju Smith-Schuster, and they got Deontay Johnson, and they've got Ebron. They've got more passing weapons besides just having Roethlisberger back. I think more receiving weapons than they did last year. And Connor's in a contract year, too, so I think he's going to be really fired up. I think Pittsburgh wins this one by double digits.
All right, then the late game tonight, listen to it on 97.3 ESPN. We have all your football, and, of course, that's Tennessee and the Broncos. I'm intrigued by this one. I want to see what Henry does for the encore here. Is he going to be like DeMarco Murray when he just kind of went from winning the rushing title to running out of gas? And then you got Drew Lock, who everybody's interested to see what he brings to the table.
Very curious about Tennessee as well. It was last year a one-hit wonder. They keep saying it's not, but I keep thinking back to Derrick Henry in 2018 when by the end of the season, fantasy managers were dropping him from their teams. I mean, a guy like Derrick Henry, they're literally dropping him. That doesn't happen in fantasy football, and it shows how bad he was playing. Problem for Denver is that Sutton's banged up. I mean, they've got Judy, and it's great to have a rookie who can play. But beyond him, they've got, Tim Patrick will be the three receiver, and Noah Fant, a good second-year tight end, but it's a lot of young talent. And they're just not going to get quite the home field advantage that they used to. And Tennessee's the more talented team, so I think it could be. I do expect Tennessee to win this.
All right, so there you go. Week 1 in the books. You hear what we have tonight, and then, of course, on Friday, Casey's back with the Week 2 slate. It starts to move quick, but the Week 1 action. Let me get your thought as a guy who watches a lot of tape. No preseason. What did you think of the gameplay?
I thought it was fantastic. I couldn't believe how good the football was yesterday. I was expecting, mind you, some shaky offensive line play and some mistiming in the passing game. So I expected those things. The tackling was crisper than I thought it'd be. The rushing was crisper than I thought it'd be. There's a lot of players who were making very good plays. I mean, these players looked like they were very, very sharp. I was expecting a train wreck, and on a scale of 1 to 10, it was probably a 7. As far as what you expect for top light play, and that was I expected like a 4, so I was pleasantly surprised. And I agree with this guy named Sheil Capedia who works for The Athletic. He said this shows that the NFL doesn't need the kind of preseason games that they've had in the past, and it might signal the end of the preseason, and that we don't need a bunch of OTAs for players. Let the veterans stay in shape.
Yeah, so. I was just going to follow up. Like, what does this signal the end of the 4 preseason game slate as we know it?
Everybody seems to be pointing in that direction. Maybe a couple preseason games because you want to go through at least the idea of your team traveling on the road and getting the logistics and things mapped out. And plus, you want the officials to be getting some practice too, because they had a good weekend. At least from all I saw, that officials seemed to have a good weekend, and you've got to take those things into account. But yeah, I can't see being 4 games anymore because there's no need for it. But if they go off of 4 games, it means they're going to want to add another regular season game. But if you get this kind of play in week 1, this is better week 1 play than I've seen in like the past 3 or 4 years in a lot of ways.
All right, he's KC Joyner. KC, tell our listeners again your new platform, how they can find you and where they can find you.
It's at thefootballscientist.com. I have a paid subscription service, mostly fantasy football. It talks about waiver picks and start-sit services, and I've got on-site chats, a bunch of other things. So just go to thefootballscientist.com. You can type in the word GIL for a discount code to get 10% off. Plus, I have weekly picks at pickwatch.com. That'll be going up on Thursday morning this week.
And then on Friday, he'll be back to talk about the Week 2 games and the Thursday night football game. He is NFL Insider KC Joyner, thefootballscientist.com. As always, he, like all guests, appeared via the Boardwalk Honda hotline. KC, talk to you then.
Appreciate it, man.